Real man loves God, works hard, takes responsibility, and takes care of other people. Those were the four pillars that I taught my son. They're simple, basic, straightforward, and everything that a man does should come out of his love for God. The way I treat my wife, the way I treat my kids, the way I work hard, all those things should originate from a genuine love for God and a thankfulness. That's what David did. David's as manly a man as you can find, in the Bible, and everything emanated out of his relationship to God.
And yo, what's up, everybody? This is James Howard Jr., your host of the Man to Man podcast, where our purpose is simply to help men honor God in every single part of their lives. For this podcast, well, at least for the first couple of episodes of this podcast, our focus has been on laying a foundation on what it means to be a man. More specifically, what it means to be a man of God who honors God in every single part of his life. We've had a lot of great men on this podcast that are helping us lay this foundation, and it's going to continue today as we dive into our conversation with my pastor, Pastor Dwayne Higginson of Grace Temple Ministries in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Pastor Dwayne is going to help us continue to lay this foundation on what it means to be a man who honors God in every single part of their lives. So let's dive into this episode of the Man to Man podcast. Yo, what's up, everybody? This is James Howard Jr., and you're tuned in to another episode of the Men to Men podcast. Now, I have a special guest with me today, my friend, my pastor, Pastor Dwayne Higginson. He's the pastor of Grace Temple Church, Grace Temple Ministries. We call it interchangeably, it's whatever. And then he does a lot of other things. So first of all, thank you, sir, for being part of this podcast, for taking our time, because I know you don't have anything else to do. You have nothing else to do at all other than to sit around and talk on a microphone on somebody's podcast. So I do appreciate the time. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. And I know that encompasses a lot of things. So choose whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm just glad to be here. I really, really appreciate what you do with Men to Men. I think guys need relationship. Guys need to connect and learn from one another. So I dig this. I love what you're doing. What I do is I pastor church, and I serve on a mission board, and I help oversee missionaries, and I run short-term mission trips, and I'm a chaplain for the police department. And I run a mission team that trains missionaries self-defense and whatever else comes up.
Yeah.
So I'm just about kingdom business.
Yeah.
Wherever our Father has business, that's what I'm engaged in.
Yeah. I brought you on today, man, because I want to talk about a few things. But the main thing I want to talk about, and this is the question that I ask all the men who come on this podcast, is what does it mean to be a man to you?
Yeah, let me say it as simply as I can. My son suffers from autism, and he is the coolest dude you ever met. He's an Eagle Scout. He's the greatest kid. But he's had to overcome autism his whole life. And so in communicating to him, I had to communicate in pretty straightforward terms. And so as I was asking God, how do I teach my son what it means to be a man? It gave me four pillars of manhood. Okay. And so a real man loves God, works hard, takes responsibility, and takes care of other people. Those were the four pillars that I taught my son. They're simple, basic, straightforward, and everything that a man does should come out of his love for God. The way I treat my wife, the way I treat my kids, the way I work hard, all those things should originate from a genuine love for God and a thankfulness. That's what David did. David's as manly a man as you can find, in the Bible, and everything emanated out of his relationship to God. And then a real man works hard. Lazy man ain't much good to anybody. And the Bible's really clear about that. I don't mean to be mean.
I get it.
But the Bible's really straight about it. The Bible calls it a sluggard, So a man doesn't want to be lazy. A man needs to step out there and get busy, make a living, do what you do. Yeah. And then a real man loves God, works hard, takes responsibility. Men, as I've helped men through the years, I've been doing ministry for 35 years, and as I've helped men through the years, it's pretty common for men who are not doing well to go, well, I just can't help it, whatever, I got this, it's how I am, whatever. No, a real man steps up and takes responsibility and says, I got to do better, right? Yeah. And then the last thing is takes care of other people. And men are notorious for being lone rangers, right? Looking out for number one. But a godly man, a kingdom man, takes care of other people. I'm my brother's keeper. I raise my children. I provide for my children. I take care of my wife. I love her. I serve her. So, loves God, works hard, takes responsibility, takes care of other people.
Yeah, and I think one thing that you pointed out there is my words, not yours, is that there is no excuse. Like, no matter where you come from, no matter if you had your daddy or you didn't, no matter if your parents were sorry or if they were the best parents in the world, no matter if you came from the slums or you came from Bel Air, whatever, and live in a mansion, no matter where you come from, like, there's no excuse. The standard for being a man isn't money. It isn't, a position, but it's, like you said, a responsibility that we have to honor God and everything that we do. And you, like you said, take care of other people and different things like that, man, which is big, man. Because I know over the years, I've worked with students since 2008, and there have been times where, you hear stories, and I talked to my dad who's worked with JRTC, worked with kids who grew up without fathers and stuff like that.
Your dad's super cool, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Shout out to you, Dad.
Yeah, he was actually on the first episode. So if y'all have not seen the first episode, go back and watch that. But he always told them, because he grew up without his father. No matter what, like, you don't have an excuse to be sorry. Basically, you don't have an excuse to just be just to get by or to let other people take care of you, let other people take responsibility for your stuff like that. A man, he does what he's supposed to do with no excuses. Do what you got to do to make sure that you're being a man.
I do self-defense training, right? And so I used to train with a guy here in town, and he did something one day that kind of scared me just a little bit. We were training people, and I was watching him train a guy in some ground fighting, and he got the guy in a situation where he couldn't do anything. The guy just gave up, right? Yeah. And so you're teaching self-defense, right? And one of the things in self-defense is you never quit, right? Yeah. And so he looked at the guy. I mean, he had the guy tied up, and the guy just quit. And he looked at him, and he screamed. He said, "Do something!"
Yeah.
And the guy kind of freaked out a little bit, and he had him cranked like this, and he said, "If you don't do something, you're gonna die. Wow. Fight back." And so I was teaching at a men's conference last year, and that was the theme of the whole sermon I gave was do something. Whatever it is you find yourself bound by, whatever it is you find yourself overwhelmed by, when you feel like you want to give up, I hear his voice in my head going, do something. And so the 3 points for the sermon were do something. If that doesn't work, do something else. And if that doesn't work, do something extreme.
Yeah.
And I just think it's really important that guys, we get to can't help it, and we just say, I just can't help it. Yes, you can.
Yeah, man.
Yes, you can. A child is a helpless victim, but a grown man is not.
Yeah.
And even though I'm dealing with things that came from my childhood that are valid,
right.
Some of my software got written right when I was a kid, I still am no longer that helpless child. So I got to get busy and start letting God raise the hood and pull some hoses and some belts and get this thing straightened out.
Yeah, and that's good, man. And man, because it's so easy as a man. I just think about like my college days and stuff when things got hard. It's so easy to just say it's whatever. Like I don't even care. Like I'm gonna just do whatever I gotta do to get by, or if I fail, it's okay. Something will work out in the cosmos some kind of way. Yeah. It's so easy to just give in and just go with the flow of the natural bent that we have, just to be. I know I keep saying this, but to be sorry, like to be sorry. And like when I think about why I do this podcast and why I do what I do in ministry and mentoring and stuff like that, man, is one thing that just irks me is a sorry man. And I don't mean that in a degrading way or anything like this, but a man who makes the choice to say, I'm going to be less than God has called me to be, I would say is a sorry man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because I mean, like, if you're making that choice to be like, It's whatever. You know, like you are sorry, which to me means it equals just low quality or poor quality. And you're just sorry. You know, if you get some material from a Home Depot or Lowe's, and you know it's just a sorry piece of wood with a whole bunch of knots in it, or a sorry tool that was just a lemon and stuff like that. It was just sorry. It's poor quality. It's no good, you know. Yeah. But if you get that bad boy that costs a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
That tool or that wood that you know is gonna last a little bit longer. That's a high quality, and that's what we seek to do in this podcast, man. Is to help me honor God in every single part of our lives and be high quality, non-sorry men.
Right. So if you find yourself in a sorry spot, we all have at times looked ourselves in the mirror and go, you know, you need to tighten up.
Yeah.
All right. So then tighten up. That's the thing, right? It's not that I'll never fall below my own standards or fall below standards of other people. I'm going to fail myself. And so what I do, I help a lot of dudes just like you do, man. And, you know, we pick them up, hug them, pat them, say, man, I'm so sorry that hurt so bad. I know it was rough. I know it was tough. Man, goodness gracious. Now let's do something. You know, that's the thing. It's like, feel it, live it, understand it, cry about it, fuss about it, whatever it is you got to do. But then now it's time to do something. Yeah. And that's what I think, that's the gift that God gives us, is he empowers us to do what we are unable to do ourselves. Right. And I grab hold of that power of God, and he gets me moving forward. And then I take responsibility and walk. Because in this life, people, I can help people walk. I can support them. I can let them lean on me. But I'm not meant, and you're not meant to carry somebody for the rest of your life. Each of us are created to carry our own weight, right? And so if somebody's injured, I'll carry a dude for a while. Yeah. But I ain't gonna carry you forever.
Yeah. right. And that's what makes the difference between a high quality man and a poor man, or sorry, low quality person. It sounds harsh to say sorry. So I'm sorry if that's hurtful, but that's the way I think about it. Because like you say, we all have sorry moments. Yeah. I had plenty of them coming up. I know for sure. And I'm not immune to it now. But it's the fact, like you said, where we stay down, where we choose to just stay down, wallow in the mud, man, that makes a difference between somebody who's gonna conquer this craziness that we have in this life and someone who's gonna be defeated by it. Yeah. And I think that's good to know, to point out.
See, I gotta grab hold of somebody too. Sometimes, see, David said in the Psalms, David looked himself in the mirror and he said, "Why are you cast down, O my soul? Why are you disquieted within me? Why are you so upset and afraid? Choose to hope in God." And then he says, "I'm going to again do what I used to do." And he kind of stood up and looked himself in the mirror and said, "You got to tighten up." So I do that sometimes. We all do that, right? And sometimes I got to grab another dude and say, "Man, I'm sliding. You got to help me." But that's the thing. It's like, take responsibility, you know. Yeah. That's the thing. One of the pillars of manhood is take responsibility. Do what you can do. If you can't do it, grab somebody who will help you. Ask for help, but then get moving.
Yeah, man. And we weren't talking about this, but it's so good. I was listening to Tony Evans, and so he was talking about the point where he said Lazarus come out. Come out the grave after everybody said, you know, he'd been dead for 4 days. He's gonna be stank. he ain't gonna smell good or whatever. What are you doing, Jesus? So he says, Lazarus, come out, and then he comes out, you know, wrapped in his the like mummy wrapping and stuff like that. You know, the rituals they did back then. And then even though he was delivered by Jesus from death, like literal death, he still needed somebody else to unwrap him.
Oh yeah.
From unchain him to loose him from the situation he was, man. And so that's good when you talk about accountability, when you talk about not being a lone ranger, when you talk about the importance of a man being linked up, you know, with other men in order to get out of a situation, man. It's so big and it's so important. And I think too, one thing you pointed out is that the importance of the understanding the fact that you have never arrived. Right. Like you've been in ministry for 30 plus years. I've been in ministry for I think like 15. I don't know. I can't public math that fast. But I've been in ministry 2008, and I've been actively honoring God, trying to honor God my best since high school. But I come way further than I was, thank God, than I was when I was in high school. But I tell like guys I mentor all the time, like, dude, like I still try to make sure that I'm doing what I need to do to stay free from the mess that I used to be in, right? So accountability, putting passwords and blocks on your phones and your, iPads and all your technology, having conversations with people who can hold you accountable, telling those thoughts that you're having, telling those temptations that you're having, because if you don't, man, you end up like, so many church leaders over the years, or so many people, men of God, who end up falling into just the trap of the enemy because you are taking that mentality of being a lone ranger. Hey, I don't need anybody. And it's just not a healthy place to be, man.
Right.
We need each other in order to continue to move on and to continue to grow in our relationship with God. And that's why we do this, man. I know I keep saying this. This is why this podcast exists, so that we can help each other honor God in every single part of our lives.
Here's the thing about it. Being a good man is a decision. People say things like, well, that's just how he is. That's just how I am. I think that's baloney, if you want to know,
Yeah.
right? I think a person who is a good man makes a decision to tame the beast inside of him.
Yeah.
Every one of us has a green Hulk inside of us.
Oh, yeah.
A rage monster that uses people, that would use people, that would take advantage of people, that would hurt people weaker than us, that would say things to our wife we should never say. All those things, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And I have to take responsibility for that rage monster and tame him, right? And the Holy Spirit is in me, helping me do that. I use the Word, I live in the Word. The Word tames my rage monster, all these sorts of things. But I'm responsible for that dude. Now, he's there. If somebody ever attacks my wife or something, or jumps on my kids, or somebody ever tries to hurt us, that rage monster can come out.
Yeah.
But he's focused, and we let him out of the cage deliberately,
Right.
and then pull him back in the cage.
Right.
But he don't run the show, and that's a decision. And that's what I think a lot of guys don't get, is that it is a constant decision to be a good man. The men that that you admire, the men that have set the bar for you, and you go, man, I wish I could be like that dude. What's the choice?
Yeah.
Because he got the same emotions you got, right?
Right.
Even Jesus, the Bible says he was tempted in every manner like as we, yet without sin. And so I have to understand that I have to wake up in the morning and decide to be a good man. I mean, I grew up without a dad. I grew up with bad examples of manhood. And I had to make some decisions, even as a young man, to say, man, I'm not going to do that, right? And so that's what I want to encourage guys to do. I want to encourage you to step up. It doesn't matter who you have been. Who are you going to be is the question. And those decisions and those choices are what set that path,
Yeah. And so you mentioned growing up without your father. That seems to be a reoccurring thing for the guys that have been on this podcast. Everybody who's been on this podcast is an amazing man. I mean, my dad, of course, it's my dad.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, yes, my dad. Then Brother Mitch, and then you all grew up without your fathers, without your biological fathers in your life. And y'all turned out all right. I'm just want to let you know, you turned out all right, I guess.
All right. So your dad's the bomb now, and Mitchell Williams is almost too good to be true. Yeah. I mean, he and I have been walking together as brothers for, I guess, maybe 10, 15 years, man. I lose track. But, he's almost too good to be true. And you're right about these guys. They didn't necessarily have good examples, but, man, look what they turned out to be. First of all, I want to say that the standard is not perfection, and I feel like I need to go back and say that, because as hard as I'm pushing this thing, you'll never be perfect, right? And you said it, you'll never arrive. But I was at a funeral this past week with a friend of mine passed away. With what I do for a living, I have the privilege of sending off my friends, as they graduate into the next life, and there's always these guys that are telling stories about people, right? And this guy stood up and he said, man, I played golf with this guy. And Dillard was a golfer. And he said, I played golf with Dillard. And he said, I'm going to tell you, I worked with him. And all the years I was with him, I never heard the man say a cuss word a single time. Of course, then I'm up, next. And I said, well, I'm going to tell you, if this man never said a cuss word on a golf course, I'm going to tell you, his pastor can't say that. Because I probably have... at least under my breath, said some things I should say, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, we're not talking about perfection, but I'm talking about having that filter that kicks in and you go, I'm not going to say that, right? That's what it is to be a good man. That that green monster rises up and you
Yeah.
catch him and pull him back.
Yeah.
So it's important that our standard not be perfection, but that we realize it's a model of growth, right? We're constantly moving forward. We're always reaching for it. It's an everyday choice. And the guys, I think you mentioned earlier in our talk about ministers who wound up falling after so many years.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I can't ever get sloppy,
Right.
I can't ever give myself permission to cut corners. I'm not talking about an exhausted life. I mean, I'm at peace with God and I'm at peace with who I am. But I don't give myself a break. And so if I see something, if something happens and I want to look somewhere I shouldn't look or say something I shouldn't say or whatever, I don't give myself permission to do that. I stop and say, no, that's not for you, right? Because this is going to hurt you. This is going to take you where you don't want to go. So even at my age, man, I'm pushing 60 and I've been doing this for a long time. I still have to hold myself accountable and still have to look at myself in the mirror and tell myself no. And just an example, I mean, this is not quite what we're talking about, but like donuts, I can't have donuts, right? Because donuts are like crack cocaine to me. I mean, I can't stop. Like I'll eat a whole box, right?
Yeah.
And so they opened up a donut shop right close to my house, and I called my wife and I said they opened up a drug house right here by our house, right? And so every time I drive by that place, I say no out loud. I ain't playing. I'm in my truck by myself. Nobody's here. And I'm driving wherever I'm going, and I have to pass by that thing, and I'll look at it and I'll go, no, and keep driving. Because I know if I give myself room, I'll pull up in there and I'll get a dozen donuts and I'll eat them all before they get home. They won't even make it to my house, I'm telling you. So I know that about me.
Right.
So the same for me, right? Now, I'm not saying that donuts are sinful. Don't get me wrong. But for me, they're a problem.
Yeah.
And so anything that causes a problem is a problem. Yeah. So I just can't do that. Now, if I'm in a place with you and you're having a donut, I'll have one with you. I'm pretty cool because we're all with people. Yeah. But if I'm like by myself, I'm gonna eat them all. So I just won't.
Right. It's a difference because when you're with people, I know for me, you like in your mind, I'm just thinking, man, people gonna be thinking I'm greedy. People. But when you by yourself, man, you pop them things in like Homer Simpson, man. And that's crazy. That's crazy, man. And I think that's the way with just so many different things. When you talk about food, talk about temptation, we talk about watching our eyes. I talk with the teenagers about this all the time. Yeah. Looking at attractive women and stuff like that we naturally feel these urges. We naturally are attracted to the opposite sex and different things like that, man. But like you said, you can't allow yourself, to go there. Because it just leads to just so many other things, man. And like you said, man, there's plenty of times where I'm saying no to a whole bunch of stuff out loud or whatever. Just I'm on Instagram strolling through. Nope, block. Right. All this kind of stuff, right. Man. And it's just so much, like you said, that you have to be aware of. And I tell guys who like I'm mentoring a lot, like, dude, like the temptations that you're feeling and the issue of this spiritual warfare that we are dealing with is not going to go away. Now, God is going to continue to deliver you from those things and you'll be stronger. It's like working out a little muscle and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, man, it's a consistent working at it. Not that you're just like grudgingly like, oh, every single day, man, I'm just having to just fight and this life, it's just horrible, but there's a sense of like you said, just being aware. Like, with your health, even if you're the most fit person, and it kind of makes me angry because I'm not that fit, to be in a gym and to look at people who are fit and I'm just looking at them like, what's the point? Like, you're already there, bud. But they understand the fact that, hey, I got this way because I did this. And if I continue to do this, I'll continue to have my six pack. I'll continue to be able to flex. I'll be able to wear my smaller pants than my, and not have to wear my stretchy pants. They understand that mindset. We have to take that same type of mindset when it comes to our spiritual lives. That, we may have it together. We may look like we've been delivered from all this kind of stuff, but you can't stop. It's a consistent thing that you have to just work at. And I don't want to make it, don't hear me say that it's a bad thing. I don't know how to explain it. You maybe can help me explain it. It's not that, it's this endless treadmill of just dread, because there is some freedom and there is some like the Holy Spirit working in you that gives you freedom and gives you breath and stuff like that. But there is this I guess conscious awareness is what I'm looking for, more than a dread, an awareness of, hey, I can't allow myself to slip back, because if I slip back, I'm gonna slip way back, kind of thing.
Yeah, so I have to think about the results of what I'm doing, right? I have to think beyond. I have to look past the cheese and see the mousetrap behind the cheese.
Right.
Because there's a reason that the cheese is free. There's a reason it's so easy to get, right?
Right.
The cost is going to come after.
Yeah.
And so what I've learned, I'm a dude, man, I love beautiful women. My wife's beautiful. My wife was a cheerleader. She's the one that used to throw up in the air and do all the flips and they catch her and all that sort of stuff. So I'm a dude, man.
Right.
And I had to learn that there are certain things I just can't give myself permission to do, right? Because God gave me some desires that are appropriate. I mean, sexual desires are appropriate. I love being with my wife. I love spending time with her. But there are lines in the road, right? And I got to keep it between the lines. And when I don't, the consequences come after.
Right.
That's the problem. The consequences of the mousetrap are after I eat the cheese. And so if I allow myself permission to look where I shouldn't look, think where I shouldn't think, and act in a way I shouldn't act, then the consequences are going to come later. And so what I had to learn is just like with those donuts. I realized if I eat those donuts, it ain't just that I'm going to, gain weight or what. For me, I'm going to feel terrible because I eat donuts and that sugar hits me. And when I get all that potato flour and all that sugar in me, I'm going to feel great, and then I'm going to feel horrible. Yeah. And I'm going to tank for like a day.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
And so I've learned that those things for me in large doses are poison for me, right? I just can't have them.
Right.
They'll make me feel bad. And so I learned the same thing about lust and all those sorts of things. So I'm in the gym, right? We're hanging around with dudes, and, some people dress appropriately in the gym and some people don't, right?
No way.
Right?
No.
And so you're in the gym and I'm talking to a dude and some young girl walks by and I watch the dude go, hey.
Yeah.
And so what I've trained my eyes to do is not say, what's he looking at? I train my eyes to go, well, he's probably looking where he shouldn't. Right. And so I focus on the dude, right? And I choose not to look. And I've had guys my age say, hey, look at that. I'm like, ain't no way.
Yeah.
I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
Because that's somebody's daughter and that's somebody's sister and maybe somebody's mother.
Yeah.
And I ain't going to treat them like that.
Right.
Now, when she comes up and talks to me, I'll look her in the eyes and have a conversation with her.
Right.
But I have got to, again, I got this green rage monster inside of me and I got this green lust monster inside of me. We all do.
Right.
And I don't want to let him out.
Right.
I want to be the kind of man that treats women with human dignity and respect. And the only way I'm going to do that consistently is if I think about women with human dignity and respect. And therefore, I have to look and think about this woman as a person.
Right.
One of the things we do is we help train victims of human trafficking how to defend themselves and how not to be victims and all that kind of stuff. And when you've got women who've been stepped on and downtrodden since they were little girls, and you're trying to teach them you're a human being, you're worth something, right? Where your head is matters, right? And a lot of guys, we try to fake it and act respectful, even if we're imagining that woman, whatever. But what I want to do is I want to act right, even if I'm not thinking right. But I want to start training myself to think right, so that my feelings will follow, and then I'm actually feeling respect for this person as a human being. And that's a constant decision. That's a constant learning process. And that's a constant discipline process that I have to do as a man. And so when I say take responsibility, I ain't playing. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, Don't give yourself permission to get down to the lowest common denominator of manhood and go, hey. No, that ain't for me, man. Because I'm a kingdom dude, right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm different.
Yeah. And it's not, and that's what I tell guys, it's not that you don't want to.
Yeah.
Right? If we can be real, if we can be honest, not that you want to, but it's what's your goal? It's my goal to lust and to get all I can from this world, or it's my goal to honor God. And when your goal is to honor God, man, you have to be different. You just have to be, man. If you can give one advice one piece of advice to every single man in the world. No language barriers, no translation barriers, no kind of any kind of miscommunication. If there was one thing you could tell every single man and you knew that they would apply it to their lives with 100%, what would that one thing be? What would you tell them?
I would say that manhood is good, and it's God's design that we be men, be real men, be 100% man. But every man needs discipline in his life.
Yeah.
And so a disciplined man who is all man can be a good man. And I think sometimes in this culture, we have decided collectively that manhood is bad. And in order for a man to be a good man, he's got to be less masculine and more female. I don't think that's true at all. I think we can be 100% dude, but be a disciplined dude, and then we can be the man God wants us to be.
That's good stuff. All right, man. So, gonna have a little bit of fun. This is what I like to call the lightning round. These questions have nothing to do with what we talked about. This is strictly answer them as quickly as possible. I did not send you these questions as prep because I want you to be on your toes. All right?
Should I be scared?
You should be a little scared.
All right, I'm a little worried.
So the first question: Star Wars or Star Trek?
You know, I love the original Star Trek.
Okay.
All right, the first one.
Okay.
After that, not much. Picard was all right, but after that, I'm done. Star Wars, love the original Star Wars, and I like the Mandalorian.
You like the Mandalorian?
I do.
Cake or pie?
Oh man, it's got to be pie, and it's got to be lemon icebox pie.
You're
key
a pie
lime
guy?
pie. Well, then I didn't say I don't like cake, but if I have a good strawberry cake or a good key lime pie, I'm gonna have key lime pie.
Key lime pie. I'm a cake guy all day long.
No kidding.
I'm a cake guy all day.
Do you eat the icing or just the cake?
It depends. Depends on if it's a lot. If it's like one of those birthday cakes with like a big like flour on top, I scrape the flour off, but I eat the underlaying actual icing. All right, and then I let my baby girl lick the icing off from the flowers because that's her favorite thing to do is to lick the icing off the cake. Your top 3 favorite places you have been that are not in the United States?
The most beautiful place I've ever been is Trinidad, Tobago.
Okay.
We're looking at the coast. Looking
That
at
just sounds beautiful.
Oh God,
Goodness
it's so
gracious.
awesome.
Yeah.
Islands off. It's a small country off the coast of South America. Beautiful, beautiful Caribbean island. The second most beautiful place I've ever been is probably Kitale, Kenya. It's a part of Kenya that's in high elevation, and so it's about 7,000 feet. So you have a tropical climate, but it's about 70 degrees all year round. So you got tropical plants. Ooh. But man, it's awesome. So Kitale, Kenya, and then man, the third one is going to be. I got to think for just a minute. What would my third choice be? I think I went fishing off the coast of Alaska one time, and that was pretty cool. Catching
but
big halibut.
Does that count though? Isn't that America?
You know what? I cheated.
You got to follow the rules, man. Hey, but we'll let it slide. So
third place then we'll say was Costa Rica, because I have never been to a place that was so beautiful. And I heard a squirrel going up a tree over my head, and it was a small tree, about 10, 12-foot tree. And I looked up, and it wasn't a squirrel. It was a 6-foot lizard.
A what?
An iguana.
A what?
An iguana.
Oh, no.
And then I started looking, and there were several of them. And I mean, dude, I'm not talking about a lizard. I'm talking about a lizard, right?
That's a dragon, dude.
That was cool, man.
That's a dragon. That ain't a lizard. That's a dragon. All right, and the last question is, with an unlimited amount of money, you had to go to a car dealership and buy your dream car. Unlimited amount of money. What would that dream car be?
Tricked out Hummer.
A tricked out Hummer? All right, so are we talking about Hummer 1, like military grade, or like GM Hummer 2 kind of Hummer?
It's got to go everywhere. So it's got to look good, but it's got to go everywhere.
Okay, so you're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger Hummer 1, straight off a military base Hummer.
Absolutely.
A Hummer?
Absolutely.
That'll work, man. At this moment, my dream car is a Tesla, and I think that's just because I watch too many YouTube videos. Every YouTuber on YouTube has a Tesla or a Lamborghini, and I don't want a Lamborghini. I'm a big boy, and I figured I just can't fit in it. Well, Pastor Dwayne, man, we appreciate your time being here on this podcast, the Men to Men podcast, where our goal is to help men honor God in every single part of their lives. Yo, that was some good stuff right there. And I hope that you got some value out of our conversation on this episode today. Listen, if you are watching this on YouTube, I want to encourage you to make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so that you can get everything that we have coming. Also, make sure that you turn on those notifications so that you can get an alert when we drop new videos in the future. And also, if you're listening to this on iTunes, I would love for you to leave a review. That will help this channel be recognized on Apple, and more people will be able to hear it so that more men can honor God in every single part of their lives. And if you don't have an iPhone, you can also listen to this on Spotify as well. And if you'd like to dive a little bit deeper on what it means to be a man who honors God, I want you to check out this video right here. I'll see you over there. Peace.